Hi, this is Tom Needham, and you're listening to The Sounds of Film. And I am so excited to have on the phone with me a true legend. I'm talking about Morris Day. You probably know him from his music with The Time. He has many, many solo albums. He's an actor who's appeared in numerous television shows and films. And we're going to be talking today to Morris here on The Sounds of Film. Morris, thanks for joining us on the program.
What's up, Tom? What's up, New York? Yes.
Well, Morris, first off, we don't have to really get into it, but I do want to wish my condolences with the passing of Prince. I know he's a longtime friend of yours. You went to high school together, and I'm just wishing you the best during these difficult times.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is difficult. There's really no words to describe the loss, and that's just something that I'll probably be dealing with for a long time.
Okay, so you've had a remarkable career, and if we can actually just go back to high school, I understand that you first got your start with a group called Grand Central, who your fans all know about. But can you just tell us a little bit about that period?
Yeah, that was like a turning point in my life because I had been a musician, since I was a little kid, and at around the age of 14, 15, I saw this band playing at the high school after hours, and it was Prince and Andre Simone. They were called Grand Central, and I just never heard the young musicians play so well. They were playing Santana. The guitar solos were right on point, and the music was just great. And I got know Andre Simone pretty well, so we skipped school together. Kids, don't do it. And go over my house, and he heard me play drums, and he was like, his jaw dropped. He was like, I didn't know you could play like that. And I was like, well, yeah, no, cool. He's like, yeah, we're having trouble with our drummer, so you should bring your drums by and, practice with us, and I brought my drums by, and they heard me play, and I was in, and that changed my life because I went from being sort of a serious-minded musician, but with sort of a recreational attitude, and that was the path where, these guys were so serious. All they talked about was when I make it, I'm going to do this and that, and we recorded our own songs, and it just took the whole thing to another level for me.
Wow, that's really interesting. What kind of music were you playing, and what kind of drummer were you?
I was a funk drummer. I listened to a lot of Tower Power, though. I liked Dave Garibaldi. I listened to a lot of fusion music, Billy Cobham and drummers like that. And then I listened to Parliament Funkadelic. I listened to Kool and the Gang, back when Kool and the Gang was funky, before they started doing Celebration and all that kind of shit. Not to say that it wasn't good music, but they were a super funky band back in the day.
Yeah.
I was listening to that kind of stuff. And our sound became a diverse sound because living in Minnesota, growing up in Minnesota, you listen to the radio, you hear a lot of crossover pop music. You'd hear an occasional, Ohio players scratch the surface, the Commodores, stuff like that. But if you really wanted to get the funky stuff, you had to go to the record store and pick it up. So we had a pop vibe from just our upbringing in the radio that we heard all day long, but then we started putting the funk with it. A lot of funk bands had horns. We didn't have horns, so we started using keyboards, using synth lines to replace horn lines, and that ended up being a signature sound for Minneapolis, for our band, and for Prince's band, of course.
And how did you eventually get to be part of The Time?
It was just a path that I was on, and all I had to do was follow it. Prince and I decided he told me to help me put the band together. We got right on it. And, next thing I know, we cut the first record he and I cut in about 2 weeks' time. Next thing I know, it was on the desk at Warner Brothers, and they were offering us a deal, and it was just on from there.
Now, from the beginning, from the songs I've heard of yours, you just immediately had this incredible persona that just stood out from every other group as a vocalist. How did you make that transition from drummer to lead vocalist?
Yeah, I still don't know. I was a really shy kid, and the last thing I wanted to do was get out from behind my drums and get in front of the band. But somehow it happened, we used to do a lot of really silly stuff, talk, laugh, and Prince like we got to get that laugh on the record, man. And we just started doing the stuff that we did, behind the scenes. We started pushing it forward, and then this whole persona emerged, and it just kind of came out of nowhere.
So that persona from all those time records, was that something that you created, or was that kind of who you were, even though you were a quiet person?
It was a little of both. It was created, and then it was also a lot of the antics was, like I said, stuff we'd do when the tape wasn't running, and stuff we'd say, and the kind of shit we'd talk when the tape wasn't running. But then we decided to start doing that when the tape was running.
Gotcha. So one of the things that really became quite apparent when the Time started putting out records was that you guys were amazing, especially as a live group. And one of the things that is sort of legendary now is that you would go out on tour with Prince, and sometimes you guys would open up, and it was very competitive. And eventually that was kind of illustrated in some of the movies you two made together. What was it like in those days when both groups would be playing, and you were both competing for the fans?
Well, we had a better band than Prince.
Yeah.
And that was by design. He basically could have had any musicians that he wanted, but he chose the ones that he chose for his own reasons. And I'm like Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza, baby. So we could outplay them, except for Prince. I mean, he's top notch musician, but then guitarists, we had Jesse Johnson who could murder a guitar too. So as far as that went, and we rehearsed many, many hours, and he saw to that because we were under his production company, and so when it came down to it, yes, our band played better. But Prince is Prince. He's the like one of a kind performer. He's like Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan of basketball. In the music arena. So it was competitive. Sometimes it would get heated, but that's what it was all about. It was competition, and we always tried to outdo one another, and it showed.
When you look back at that band, The Time, I mean, it's just incredible the number of people that were in that group that went on to do even other things after the group. Jimmy Jam, Jesse, and everybody, and yourself. Did you have a sense when those original guys all came together, what a significant group of musicians you were?
I didn't. I knew great musicians, and Terry and Jimmy had already begun their production team because they were doing these songs on Cynthia, the young lady that sang Funky Town.
Yeah.
Before that even came out, and I heard the songs, I was like, dude, guys, these are incredible, productions you're doing on her. So, I already knew that they had that ability, and I just knew I had top-notch guys. But no, I didn't. I had no idea that they would be as incredible as they ended up being, or any of us, for that matter. Just like when we did Purple Rain, they said we're going to do a movie. It's like, okay, we're going to do a movie. So they started putting us in dance classes and acting classes, and I was getting kicked out of acting classes because they said I clown too much. And then guess what? That's what worked for me in the movie. So, I had no idea that was going to be a blockbuster movie. I just thought we were just doing our thing,
I was going to say, you're known as an actor now, but do you remember when you first got the calls to say, Morris, we'd like you to be in a movie? And if you do remember, what was your initial reaction?
No, it was more like Prince because, back then we hung out every day. And so, we cut music, and if we weren't cutting music, we'd go out and party a little bit. Then we'd come back and hear some music inspire us. We'd come back at night and cut. And he was just like, we're going to do a movie. He's like, I'm writing this movie. And I said, okay. And then it got real. We Warner Brothers put a team together, and they started bringing in the director, and he started going over the script, and I said, okay, this is real. So it was just kind of one of those things.
That's pretty amazing. One of the things that you're most well known for in that movie, besides incredible musical performances, is your comedy, both you and Jerome. And and I was wondering, how did you develop that whole comedic pairing the two of you. I mean, was this something that you guys were already doing, kind of like how you said earlier with Prince, or is this something that you had to kind of create for the film?
Yeah, what happened was, like I said, we started. I mean, by then we were out of control. It's like you start laughing and doing your thing, and like I said, we brought it from the behind the scenes to the forefront on tape. And then, we just started getting crazy with it, and when we started having hit records, then we started getting cocky. So it just grew, and it grew and grew. It's like, oh, people are digging it. So now we're really going to start cutting up, So it was one of those kind of things.
That's amazing. We're speaking with Morris Day. You're listening to The Sounds of Film, and we're talking about the incredible Purple Rain. Can you believe that this film is out in theaters again? It's pretty amazing. Did you ever expect that?
No, there's a lot of things that have been going on that I never expected. My buddy, I never thought he'd pass. I thought he'd outlive me by 100 years because he was healthy. He ate right. He did everything right, it seems, and they just let you know when it's your time. It's your time. But no, I never thought that. Our records are back on the charts, all of them. It's just really crazy what's going on right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine how Purple Rain changed your life. I mean, all you're hearing this week is how Purple Rain and Prince changed millions of people's lives. But this must have really hit you big time. You were getting incredible reviews. Your music was a hit. How did that movie change you personally?
Well, it just really kind of, you kind of lose. I think that's probably when my feet left the ground a little bit. Morris Day became bigger than life then. Life will always deal you a reality check. So, back then it was crazy. People coming left and right. Fast lane. The partying and all of that stuff got out of control. It was. It just really. I kind of went from just somewhat of a famous singer to this movie star / singer.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Did you expect to get the reaction from Hollywood? I mean, you were already successful in the music business, but then all of a sudden Hollywood started calling you, and it must have been hard, to.
Bottom line, that through that whole process, everybody was calling and offering this and that, and we did deals, and then things started changing, and it didn't really jump off, and I realized through all that I enjoy being a musician, and not so much. I had fun doing Purple Rain. However, it was grueling at times because acting is a grueling gig. I mean, it's glorified, but those people work hard behind the scenes. They get up at ungodly hours. They work long, long days, longer than probably anybody in any other kind of job you can imagine. And it's gratifying, and it pays off in the long run. And if you're a big movie star, you're a big movie star. But I decided and realized that I like music. Because I'm not a workaholic. I like to have fun, and I like to do my music. So that's what I do now.
Yeah. Well, if I can just ask you really quickly, I mean, you did do a number of different projects. You were on television with New Attitude. You were in a Andrew Dice Clay movie a number of years back. You even did a fun part in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Any of these experiences ones that you remember fondly?
Oh, I remember all of them. It was cool. Working on Ford Fairlane, and Wayne Newton was in the film, and found out he's a really cool dude, and just meeting Richard Pryor in person was definitely a highlight for me, and but the TV shows, doing that stuff. I mean, that's hard work. Again, you're up bright and early, and you're on the set every day rehearsing, and then the weekend comes Thursday and Friday, you're actually filming the show, and then you go home Saturday and Sunday. Monday you start back up again, so it's really like a job.
Yeah. I mentioned the Kevin Smith film. Looking back at that now, I mean, I don't know what it was like. I'm sure you had personal conversations with him in terms of why he wanted you in the time in the movie. But I look at it now and I say, like, that was like one of the first signs to me that there's probably lots of people in Hollywood, in the music industry, that just have so much respect for you and for Prince and for Sheila E. and all these artists from that time period and what all of you did. And just to have that celebration at the end of the movie, I think is almost like a little precursor for like what you're seeing now with all these tributes and everything.
Yeah, true. And, Kevin, props to him because, he wrote us in that script before he even called us. So he had faith. We were mentioned throughout the whole movie. So, like, if it had been one of those things where we couldn't, like, do the movie or chose not to, I mean, he went out on a limb and did that, and, I appreciate and respect him for that, for being that type of fan, and, giving us the opportunity to be, and, that was somewhat career-changing for us because at the time, my sons were young, and I went from dropping them off at school from being their dad to the kids like, hey, that's Morris Day.
Yeah, it's amazing like how, just a new thing appearing in something just even a little bit can change everything for like a new generation.
Absolutely. It introduced us to a younger generation.
You also appeared in the Prince film Graffiti Bridge, and while that film was not as critically or commercially as successful, for anyone who's a true fan of the time and Prince and so forth, it's essential viewing. And people know the movie inside and out. What is it from that movie that you did like, that you remember about from that time period?
I didn't, I didn't feel like that movie was going to measure up to Purple Rain while it was going on. And, that's one of those things that you just have to be honest about.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was all done on a set.
Right.
So it didn't have an urban feel. It was very surreal. Of course, that was Prince's vision, and, I couldn't dispute that. But it just didn't feel like it was going to hold up to me. Like, because really, I in my mind, I was thinking we should have done something a little more like Purple Rain 2. It should have had more of that street feel that Purple Rain had, and not so much of a surreal look. And so I mean, it was what it was. But I could tell when it was being filmed. I just didn't have that feeling. Of course, I didn't have that feeling with Purple Rain either. But once I saw what it was, I do remember how we did it.
Right. You mentioned before that at a certain point, even though you did a lot of acting, that you realized you're a musician, and then through the years, you've come back to the time and you've done solo albums, and always, like, I've seen you in concert a number of times, and I tell everyone that the concerts I've seen you in have been some of the best concerts I've ever seen, and I go to all kinds of concerts. What do you think is, just in your opinion, as someone who, is in the group, what is so special about the time? I mean, there's a lot of funk groups out there, but the time, I mean, no one compares. Why is that?
Well, we were able to create a visual. I ended up, being a front person, with a personality where I stand out enough that I can be Morris Day in the time, and people know Morris Day, and so they expect what I do, and I think it's that. I think it's that we have great musicians, play great. We do the dance steps with the music, and it's just a total package.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It is a total package. Today, music sounds so different, but there are a few artists like Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk, and so forth that do sort of pay tribute to the sound of the time, and it's amazing because I'm surprised more artists aren't trying to do it, because when they do it, it just sounds so fresh compared to everything else that's out there today, and it just becomes such a huge hit. It makes me wonder whether, if you guys were putting out stuff today, whether it could click. But I still don't think even Bruno Mars compares to the time. How do you feel about some of the current music out there now, as it pays tribute to what you've been doing in the past?
Well, I was a big fan of the Mark Ronson Bruno Mars project. I thought that was, I thought that it was properly done.
Yeah.
They had some good musicianship on there, and it definitely had an old school feel. They did it right. They cut it in Memphis in an old dusty studio there, and it had that sound. Everybody's like, hey, they're doing you. I said, no, it doesn't sound like they're ripping. I get it. Some of the attitude and some of the things they say, but I was more impressed with the way it was done and all of that. And then Mark Ronson gave us a really nice shout out at the Brit Awards. And, I thought that was really cool. So, I think they paid respect and they did it right.
Absolutely. When you look back at those classic Time albums, how were they all put together? I mean, sometimes people say Prince did a lot, but I'm sure that everyone put their stamp on the music in their own ways. How did the whole sessions go in terms of recording some of those classic tracks?
With the exception of a couple of background singers and keyboard parts, Prince and I basically did the first album by ourselves. I played the drums and did the vocals, and he did most of the instrumentation aside from that. So we really did the first album, the What Time Is It album, ourselves. And then by the time we got to the second album, because we hadn't really put a band together yet, so the band came after the album, and then so by the time we got to the second album, then the guys started playing on the album and doing, everybody started getting, having their parts to play and, a little more involved.
Okay. When you perform today, you have so many hits that you can do. Besides the ones from Purple Rain, what are some of the like the long, early time cuts that you enjoy playing the most? Besides the Purple Rain stuff.
Yeah, we like playing cool. Even fast forward to the Pandemonium album, we like playing Jerk Out. We got nice arrangement. The crowd always gets a kick out of it, and we just all of them, man. We just have a good time. We put it down, and we have a good time doing it, and that's what people walk away with. They're like, you know what, that was a party.
Absolutely. And do you get any sense, going forward with all these tributes and stuff going on, is there going to be more of a, maybe you're seeing it already, is there going to be more of a demand for the time to get back out on the road and play even more than you already are?
Well, I think so, because, Prince was such a worldwide icon and star that, bands like ours and Sheila, they're the last thing that the fans really have to hold on to out of that whole circle now.
Yeah, and I think his true fans really do remember you and Sheila and Wendy and Lisa and all those people and Andre even and. All those people, and it would be great maybe if there was a package tour or something like that where all you guys came together. I don't know if that's in the works or not, but I know we have to wrap this up. But when you look back at your own personal history, how do you think people are going to remember the time, and will they get the respect that I think you deserve?
Well, I really feel like it's not over yet.
Yeah.
We're starting a new chapter here, so we will strike again, and I just want to be remembered as somebody who was able to make you smile. You come, you have a good time. People spend their hard-earned money. They want to enjoy it. They want to party. They want to feel like they was part of it, and that's what we do, and that's how I want to be remembered.
And Do you ever remember, like, just, one last thing, when Prince and you played on that first album, like, what did he say to you in the beginning, like, that he wanted the time to be?
We, I don't even think we had a name for it yet. The first name of the band was The Nerve, and that's what was on the sleeve when we did the test.
Wow.
Well, yeah, when we did the test album, and so we didn't. The name didn't come about until after the album was maybe weeks after it was finished.
Okay. And did you realize after you guys were recording that you had something special?
Oh yeah, I thought it was. And it's funny. I played it for a few people and didn't. Some people react. Some people I didn't really get much of a reaction. Because sometimes you hear music for the first time and it doesn't hit you. It's like Prince played. We were on the set of Purple Rain. He played When Doves Cry for me. I got out the car and told him next time play something funky for me. I slammed the door. Now, next thing I know, it was one of the biggest hits on radio. So you don't always get it the first listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 or 4 to really hit. But I always felt like the first record was a special record.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about the time is that you guys have these long, like 8-minute tracks, and just the whole structure of the song is different. How the beginning part of the song, you establish a groove, and sometimes it's kind of even almost like a mellow kind of funk. But then at a certain point there's going to be guitar soloing, and then you're going to have the chanting back and forth at the end, and it's a whole different structure where by the end you just kind of anticipate this building, this momentum that kind of just increases, a frenziness, and it's unlike any other group. Just something about the songs themselves, your vocals, everything, the whole combination, the whole package. Well, Morris, again, I do wish you the best continuing forward, and I'm very sorry about your loss, and I want to recommend that everybody, if they get the opportunity, to go out and see Morris Day and the Time perform, because they are one of the best acts in America, and you're truly a legend.
Appreciate you, Tom.
Okay, take it easy, Morris.
Yes.